Clinton. You were right on time. You joined quite early, so it shows you are very conscious of time. Welcome. Yofa boy, thank you for joining as well. You're welcome.
Yes, you win.
Yes, we can see you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ambitious 177. We can see you. Thank you. Fancy. Thank you for joining.
Fancy. Yes.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining. It's good to have you in here.
Yeah, okay, you're fat boy. Alright.
You have a lot of questions about Australia. Don't worry. We are here for you. We are here to answer your questions.
Yeah, it's good to have people join before the scheduled time. Bukola.
Badeski.
Yeah, thank
welcome.
you for joining.
DYDX, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for more people to join. We're going to start at the nick of 4. So we appreciate everyone that's joined in so far. Let's just wait for our other Uchenna Uzo. Thank you for joining. It's good to
have you here. Welcome.
So we're just waiting. We have about 7 more minutes. Yeah, and then we'll kickstart our program for today.
So Ifeti, thank you. You're welcome. Benny, P Cakes and more, welcome. Thanks for joining.
I think I can see Blessed Concepts, Nigeria.
Yes.
Thank you for joining as well. We can feel the hunger to yes. To know what is happening in Australia. It's actually a good one, and we are hopeful by the end of this session you'll be fully loaded with information as regards Australia. And
yes, most especially particularly concerning GTE, which we will be telling you how it has to do it or what GTE stands for as soon as we start.
Yeah, come to think of it, GTE is just peculiar to
Australia. Yes.
Yes. Odusoya Israel, thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we are counting down. You're waiting. It's 6 minutes more to 4.
Diola Oyelekon, welcome. Oyelekon Hida. You're welcome. Thanks for joining.
For those just joining, before you join, we're saying it's good to see people really interested in getting to know about Australia, and as it is from the current trend, we are seeing that Australia is now topping or is at the top of destinations that students, especially from Nigeria, are looking at currently. So it's good to see you. I am
Hajiri, sorry if I didn't pronounce it well, and Easy Boy 6564. You're welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. We have 5 more minutes, so let's just give some few people. Fats Mary 02.
Welcome.
It's good to see you join this session.
So we're not doing African time. By 4 we start.
Yes, I like this new wave. This generation is no more thinking about African time, so
yes.
It's good. It's really exciting to see people being conscious, of time.
Modupe Shotinwa, welcome. Good to have you around. Fat Mary, you're welcome.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Now, come to think of it, people no longer talk about, before now, people will usually say, oh, I don't want to go to Australia, Australia is far.
Wow.
But the tides have changed from recent observation. People no
Yes.
longer care about
The distance.
The
It's
distance
not a
is no
barrier.
longer a barrier. So it's actually a good one. We are beginning to embrace diversity, and distance is nothing compared to, so far there are humans there. I think
Yes.
Ms. Muni, thank you for joining.
You're welcome. Some people have started seeing Australia as a great destination to study.
No well only.
Sorry, you're welcome.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes more, so it's a good one, and I'm happy we'll have a handful of persons that have
That
joined.
have joined already.
Yes.
You don't have to wait.
Yeah, so once it's 4, we'll just go ahead, because we also need to give time to answer questions.
Timex Lunch or Lunch, welcome. Thanks for joining. It's good to have you here.
Welcome again, everyone, for taking time out of your busy schedules. Come to think of it, in Lagos, everybody's busy trying to
Yes.
sort one thing or the other. And again, we'll just tell everyone, compliments of the season.
Yes.
Christmas is
It's
saying,
here. It's the festive period.
and I can feel we are beginning to. Please.
That we're experiencing
No, we're
right
experiencing, but at least we are still grateful for life.
now. Yes,
So I
it's
think
the end of
in
the
the
year.
year, so I think it's also something we need to be grateful for.
Good, Odi Inina, good to have you here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
We have 1 minute more, so let's just wait before we commence this. I'm already feeling the excitement that this is going to be
Yes.
quite engaging and it's going to be,
Informative.
yes, an interesting session. I can feel the vibe with the number of persons that were able to join quite even before the time. It's encouraging. So I would say thank you to everyone that's joined. So let's just wait. I'm sure in some few seconds now it will be 4, and then we will start. Okay, wow, this is 4 o'clock on the dot. Finally. Once again, we welcome everybody, and we want to appreciate you for joining this session. My name is Elizabeth Idunova. I'm Educational Counsellor for Australia, and I'm here to support me, my colleague. So please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Afolake Akinde, Education Counsellor for Australia too. So we are here to answer your questions and discuss about studying in Australia and GTE. So it's good to have you here. Thank you for joining. And we are going. I believe it's going to be an interesting and informative and engaging session.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so thank you for Lake, and I'll just progress accordingly. So findings have shown that 80% of students get rejection over inadequate and genuine documents for their GTE assessment. In fact, this has really been a case of concern for us, and that is why we have chosen this topic, because it is peculiar to Australia. People talk about what is GTE. So, firstly, I want to let you know that GTE is an acronym. So it stands for Genuine Temporary Entrance. That's what the GTE means. Now, for our session today, we'll be discussing about what GTE is, what the requirements are, of course, what are those risk indicators we look out for, and then as part of the documents that is also being reviewed in the course of the GTE assessment is the statement of purpose. Some call it personal statements. It all means the same. So those are the areas we'll be delving into, and then we will take your questions thereafter. So as I earlier mentioned, what is GTE? GTE is peculiar to Australia. This is something you have to note. Also, the acronym stands for Genuine Temporary Entrance. So Australia would always want to know, if you say you're coming there to come study in Australia, they'll always want to know if you have genuine intentions to go study. And how do they verify these genuine intentions? There are some documents they request for you, because technically speaking, only very, very few schools do interview sessions. So basically, you do not do interviews for Australia. So now, if they want to determine if you are a genuine student, how would they do that? It's based on the documents you will be providing, and that leads us to the next topic, GTE requirements. What are those documents you'll be providing as for your GTE requirements? So Falake, I don't know if you want to
Yes, I'll just pick it up from there. Thank you very much for just giving us an overview of what GTE means. So just like she mentioned, genuine temporary entrance. So it's basically an assessment, and majorly for Australia, for most of the universities, you must have gotten to provided documents for application and received a letter of offer before this assessment is done. Only a few universities will do the assessment alongside your application. Though during your application, some risk factors will also be put into consideration. So the major documents required for GTE, some universities have what we call GTE forms. So they have their GTE forms that you'll be asked to fill, asked to answer a few questions. Then the requirements are majorly divided into two. One of them is the statement of purpose, which my colleague also spoke about earlier. Statement of purpose would likely be could also be called personal statement. Some people will say statement of interest. So for the statement of purpose, you are expected to provide a statement of purpose with details which will be discussed much later into the session. When we move on into the session, details about yourself, then details about your circumstance, why you chose to study in Australia ahead of your home country, what are your future goals and ambitions, why you chose the particular school you want to study in or the particular university, then your choice, of course, how you relate to what you're doing, your job, or your education profile. So all those things, you have to put them together. So I'm sure that we will buttress that when we get to that stage. Then the second document, the other category is your financial documents. So you're expected to provide financial documents. So this is just to check if you have all resources available, or you have enough access to funds to fund your education for the period at which you'll be studying in Australia. So your financial documents that you're required to provide is 3 months bank statements, 3 months recent bank statement. Let me just put it that way, because the bank statement you'll be expected to provide must be a statement that is recent, that is updated, and you are expected to show funds of about 62,000 Australian dollars in your accounts. So usually I'll give a range in Naira of about 18 to 20 million. So that should be the closing balance in the account. The statement is expected to be a running account, not a dormant account. Most preferably should be a personal account, not a company's account, because company's accounts raise further questions. So other documents that you'll be expected to provide is that depends on who your sponsor is. So if you are sponsoring yourself, you provide the statement of account and also your source of income document. Where did you get the money from? What do you do for a living? So you provide either business registration documents, and that business registration documents should cover not just the CAC certificate, but also other pages of the document showing whoever it is that owns the statement, showing that the person is the owner of the company or part of the boards or part of the people that the group of people that owns the company. So that's very important. Then also you are expected to provide employment letters if you do not have a registered business. I'm sure that the category of what you do would either fall in the category of what if you have a business, if you run a business by yourself, or you are employed. So if you are employed, you provide employment documents, employment letters, reference letters, then statement of accounts showing you're receiving salary, 3 months bank statements, or 3 months pay slip. So that's also what you're expected if you are sponsoring yourself. But however, if you are not sponsoring yourself and you have a sponsor, the eligible sponsors are your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, your spouse, and also your uncle and aunt. Those are the eligible sponsors. That's aside you sponsoring yourself. So for these other sponsors, you're expected to provide proof of relationship documents. So if your parents are sponsoring you, you provide your own relationship, your own birth certificate to show that you are being sponsored to show that you are related to your parents. Otherwise, you can also provide a marriage certificate if it's your sponsor. If your sponsor is your spouse, then also you can provide, if your sponsor is any of your siblings, you can provide birth certificate to show the connection between you and whoever it is that is sponsoring you. So that will also be required. Then ID card from your sponsor is also a requirement. So those are the major requirements. So there may be a little bit variation depending on the choice of schools. Some schools will go further by asking for some other documents, like confirm that the applicant is employed, like if you are to confirm that you are employed. So what are the employment documents? The evidence to show that you are truly employed. The documents are your employment letters or reference letter. Then also you must provide statement of account showing that you are receiving salary, 3 months recent bank statements. So this statement of account should indicate where salary is much more recognized than providing a pay slip. So those are the major requirements for GTE. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Afolake, for that wonderful insights. Those requirements are very, very key, and I must say it is very important for us to keep to heart, because the whole essence of the GTE assessment is for you to provide all requirements. So technically, the GTE assessment will determine your progression in the admission application. So if you do not meet up, the way GTE is structured is, if you do not meet up with the GTE requirements, then such a candidate definitely cannot progress with the application process. So that is very, very key. So now, like I made mention of earlier, there are some risk indicators that that is looked into when we are talking about GTE assessment. I'm going to be giving you insight to some of them, so that you can have a full, at least to a very considerable extent of GTE requirements. So now, My colleague mentioned statement of purpose. Remember, like I always say, statement of purpose is you on paper. It is you selling yourself, you convincing the person at the other end that yes, indeed, you have genuine intention to go study the particular program you have made mention of, or your choice of program. Now, some of these risk indicators they look out for when you have provided your GT requirements. The first one is gaps in profile. So when I say gaps in profile, I'm technically talking about your academic gaps. So they want to see if you've had an academic gap of, say, if you're going for a postgraduate program, you've had an academic gap of up to 10 years. They want to see what have you been doing in the course of this number of years. That's one. Two, if you've been working, how does what you've done tie with the course you intend to go study? I'm actually taking my time to list this out because we've seen a lot of things in the course of our experience. So we've seen someone that has been in the business sector, perhaps an accountant, for years, and all of a sudden you make up your mind that you want to go study nursing or social work. So your years of experience, the gap, or after your post-graduation, because you've stated you've been working, does not show that you have any practical or work experience in that space. So that's a risk indicator. Now, the next one is change of stream from previous qualification or experience. So the gaps ideally takes us into the next risk factor. Thank you for that, Care. So if you are changing stream, if you are moving from a particular sector to the other, they want to see what is the justification for moving to that sector. Like I gave an example of an accountant over the years, and then you wake up and say you want to go do nursing. Why that change of stream? If you're changing, do you have verifiable work experience in that space? So if one is making that change, so the person at the other end does not portray that you have genuine intentions to go study because it's not adding up. Another thing that I would like to make mention of is your previous immigration history of concern. Now, from our experience, we've noticed quite a number of students, perhaps because of this is what they feel, let me not disclose my immigration history. Maybe that will hamper or affect my application. Please, we will admonish that all your immigration history be declared. Please do not in any way hide your immigration history, because the implication of this is as soon as you do your biometrics, information is shared across the different embassies internationally, and if it happens that you did not disclose your immigration history, and the Department of Home Affairs, which is the body that manages for that of Australia visa issuance, gets back to us to disclose this, already your guess is as good as mine. It's a red flag, and you are increasing your chances for visa refusal. That is what we'll say. Please declare all your immigration history, and then allow of course the visa officer to determine if you be issued a visa at the end of the day. And this immigration history involves your refusals. It's not just your refusals, as well as overstay. If you had a situation where you overstayed your the duration of your visa in Australia or any other country, you have to declare that. And not declaring that is a risk indicator. This again will then move me to the next point, which is if your family accompanying and then your ties to Australia. They are actually two in one point. Now, for family accompanying you at the point where you intend to process your visa, we wouldn't recommend that, because if you look at it this way, your number one objective is to go study in Australia. Yes, some of us may allude to the point that family may give some level of psychological balance and all of that. Yes, this is quite understandable, but considering your major objective, which is going to acquire knowledge, if you put that and then going with your family at the same time, we all know what is happening. All countries are aware of permit in our own local parlance, the JAPA history. Yes, it's quite funny, but everybody is aware of that. Now, if you intend to go with your family at the same time, it is being viewed as a family migration, and of course this annuls the main objective of you going to study in Australia. And then secondly, your ties to Australia must be declared. If you have a family member, relative in Australia, that has to be mentioned. Without you mentioning that, it's already a red flag and is a risk indicator. Now, another thing I would like to make mention of, which is a risk indicator, is for Australia, if you intend to study in Australia generally, there has to be academic progression. So what this entails is when you complete your bachelor's, perhaps they expect you to progress to do your master's program. Now, someone that has their bachelor's degree, has a good CGPA, and then you are requesting to go for a graduate diploma program or repeating a bachelor's program, that is a red flag. It is a high risk indicator. So what this amounts to is that there's no progression in your level of study. The same applies if you've had a master's program previously. It is expected that you progress to the next academic certification, which is your PhD program. So once there's no progression in your level of study, it is a risk indicator. Now, another thing that we need to note is when my colleague Folake was speaking, she made mention of your statement of purpose. And like I said when I began talking, your statement of purpose is you in written form, is the combination of your professional experience coupled with your academic qualification. It's more or less selling yourself by sharing every information around you and convincing the other person that you are a genuine student, that is, you have genuine intentions to go study. Now, when you're writing your statement of purpose and you are stating out economic hardship in your country, how bastardized the economy is, we see a lot on your statement of purpose. Well, yes, everybody is aware of the financial, economic, and security situation in the country, but nobody expects you to start stating the obvious. The implication of this is not you hiding information, but the implication of this is, technically speaking, you're telling the person at the other end that, hey, my country is so bad, it's terrible, I don't want to come back. As soon as I get into your country, I'm not coming back to my own country. And obviously it's a high risk indicator. So you're going there to study, and they expect that upon completion of your studies, you should return to your home country. So you stating all the obvious, which obviously those information are available on the online. Everybody have access to what is happening cutting across the globe, but you stating that, again, is just telling the person at the other end that hey, when I get into Australia, I'm not gonna come back. Now, another factor that is also very key is age. this is not specifically stated anywhere, but it is good we share this with you. Now, the age category varies for undergrads and for postgraduate. Now, if you intend to go do your postgraduate program and you are 40 years, say for instance, it is also a risk indicator. So the way this is being viewed is if you go study perhaps a master's program, which usually the duration is for 2 years, and then say your post-study work visa additional 2 years. If you happen to study in a regional area within 3 to 4 years, so technically speaking, you're looking at spending 6 to 7 years in Australia. Now they add up this number of years. Say you have 41 or 42. If you're adding 7 years to a 40, 41 or 42, that person is already in their late 40s, and the implication of this is towards that time you are winding down, you are unable to contribute properly to the economic development of the country. Invariably, your plan is really not to go study, but it's just for a retirement purpose. So that is how it is being viewed. So age is also something, it's important. It's not listed, but it's something that is important. And then for the undergrad, the maximum is looking at, generally it's 23 years. So they know how our educational system is wired, and then if someone that is going to study a bachelor's, you've come of that age, the question begins to be, do you have really genuine intentions to go study? What happened all this while? Why weren't you able to commence your bachelor's program? They are fully aware of our educational system, and they know a typical Nigerian will, to a very large extent, we are educated. If you don't have a bachelor's, at least you will have gotten your HND. So this is also something that is very, very key for us to consider. I'll just run through the risk indicators again. When you have gaps in your profile, if your change of stream from your previous experience does not tie, and then your immigration history, if you had refusals or overstays, your ties to Australia, and then if there's no academic progression, and also stating economic hardship or financial hardship in your statement of purpose. These are some of the risk indicators they watch out for when doing reviewing or doing GTE assessment. So now we have been mentioning SOP, statement of purpose, personal statements. My colleague Afolake would you just let our audience know what are those requirements, what are those things that should be captured on their statement of purpose?
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful discussion about risk factors. So I'll just quickly go into the statement of purpose. What are you expected to write about? What are you expected to discuss in your statement of purpose? Which is very, 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 very important, because basically your statement of purpose just talks about you, just like Elizabeth mentioned earlier. It has to be believable. You can't just cook up a story that doesn't sound, even reading it yourself, it has to be something that will be believable to you. Like you have to, yes,
believable, yes, convincing.
Yes, it has to be very convincing, not something strange or not. Whoever is reading at the other hand, at least a brief information about you, what you've been doing over the years, what you've studied previously, and what you currently do. So it gives a brief overview of yourself. Then you move to, why do you want to study in Australia and not your own country? So this is very important. So in some instances, I've seen people talk about, in fact, there was an example that I can cite. The person said, education system in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. It's a total failure. So I was just wondering that you've done your bachelor's here in Nigeria. That kind of statement even nullifies your bachelor's degree to be of good standards. So you don't have to make the education system of Nigeria look so bad. Rather than painting the education system in Nigeria bad, you need to talk about the benefits. What benefits, what will you gain from studying in Australia that you won't get from studying in Nigeria? And there are so many things to discuss: the infrastructure, the learning equipment, the facilities that you have access to, which are way above what we have obtainable here. You can talk about completing your studies in due time and the likes. There are so many reasons why you studying in Australia, and for you to have even chosen that you want to study in Australia in the first place. So I want us to be concise and precise in this aspect, not just talking. You don't have to make Nigeria look so terrible and horrible to explain your point. Talk about the strengths of studying in Australia more than that. So also, we also look at the reasons why you are studying that course. That is even very important. The reason why you are studying the particular course that you have chosen. You've chosen that course, so you should be able to buttress on the reason. What will studying that program benefit you? Now, if the program is just a continuation of your career, you should be able to state what your future goals are and how you think it will contribute to your future. So you are not expected to invest a whole lot of money studying in Australia and not getting good returns. So you should be able to come out clear. Why study this course? What do you stand to benefit? What are the prospects, your job prospects, your future employment prospects, and what you stand to achieve with studying that course? Also, you need to explain why you have chosen a particular university. In Australia, there are a whole number of universities and institutions of learning that you can choose. So for you to have singled out one university out of the many, over 40 universities that we have, you should be able to explain what are the strengths of that school. And this is very easy. Sometimes I see some statement of purpose that are not really very up to standard in this part. But this is very easy because for every university, when you go to their website, they will give you detailed information on what you stand to benefit studying in that particular university. So you see so many things. The facilities they have to offer you, the classes, the lecturer to students ratio, all those things are very, very key to explain, and they are easily accessible on the university's website. So you also need to talk about what is the relevance of the course that you want to study to what you are doing currently or to your employment. Then you also need to talk about what are your future goals and career. What do you stand to achieve? At the completion of your studies, what do you want to do? What do you think you would get? What kind of job do you want to apply for? Which kind of companies do you want to work for, or do you seek employment with? So all those should be well discussed. And also you should talk about your plans. What are the plans that you have after completing your study? Plans of coming. You are expected. You will be assessed as a genuine student, that your sole intention is to study. So you're expected to discuss about your plans coming back to Nigeria, not your plans. Some people discuss about plans that, I want to stay in Australia
and work. Quite interesting. When I see such statements, already it's like one has given the judgment.
Giving them the judgment
already. You don't expect them to give you any other judgment, because it's more like you've shot yourself in the foot. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for chipping that in. So you need to your plan for after studying should be tied to Nigeria. Then you also need to talk about your own ties. What are the assets you have that will bring you back to Nigeria? Some people have lands, inherited properties, and some other things. Then talk about your family in Nigeria, because they serve as home ties to you. They need to see, okay, what are the incentives that would make you come back to Nigeria? So you need to also add that to the concluding part. Then there are in some aspects also you need to talk about your course code. That's why you need to go make research about the course, because you are expected as a student that what research have you done as a student that you intend to study in Australia, because they don't just believe that you will just wake up one day and say, I want to study in Australia. So they believe that you must have done your own checks too. So you need to explain what research you've done, the course codes and everything, so in your statement of purpose. So I think that will just be all from me. I believe that we have a better understanding on how to write our statement of purpose now. I don't know if Elizabeth wants to chip in anything.
Oh yes, thank you for Lake. That was quite insightful. I would just like to chip in. Now, after all being said and done, another thing that is expected to be captured is, my colleague made mention, but just for emphasis sake, I want to reiterate that your returns on investments is very key. So whatever we do, to a large extent, is all about the money. So for you, exactly, it sounds funny, but when you look at it holistically, you know it's at the end of the day is to better improve your value to be able to generate more income for yourself. So back to the statement of purpose, they want to see the returns on investment. Now, you all the way from Africa, from Nigeria, you have decided to put in millions of nairas to go study in Australia. Now they want to see, at the end of the day, when you've acquired this knowledge, what is the estimated annual income you'll be making. So I'll take for instance, perhaps one went to do a master's program in cybersecurity. Now they want to see what are those notable organizations that you would likely fit in as an employee. Perhaps you want to make mention of the Big Four consulting firm. They'll also want to see, so if perhaps you decide to work in a consulting firm at the end of your program, when you return to your country, what will be the estimated annual incentive or income you'll be able to gather from that. So they want to see if it's worth its while that you are investing such an amount of money to go study in Australia, rather than doing that program either in Nigeria or a nearby country or an African country that in terms of financial implication is not that high. So it is also very, very important to state that. So it's not you going out of your way, and that's why I made mention of an example that is practicable. So everybody knows now, for instance, IT is the new gold, is the new blood money. So if you're going to do an IT course, like I said earlier, Master in Cybersecurity, they want to see which organization, notable organizations in that space that you are eligible to work for, and then what would be your earnings, at least estimated earnings at the end of the year. So this will just give them a good gauge that it is worth its while for you investing in this, because sometimes some people would sell a property, sometimes your sponsor may decide to sell their car to just help you to meet up with the financial implications. So they want to see that as well stated on your statement of purpose or personal statement. So this is what I can add. Thank you everyone that joined in the course of we speaking. I think Malak Sagad, thank you, we appreciate you. Mr. Kwong, thank you. Frank Titi, Ladipo Rayo, thank you everyone. I think others that will scroll up. Jimmy Pass,
Tayo
Oni, Elizabeth, oh my namesake, interesting. Emo Presh, Ready. Yeah, I think Mirabelle also joined. I think someone dropped a question. Sorry.
Earlier on.
Yes, I'm just trying to see if we can pick that question. If you can still type it in, because quite a number of persons have joined and it has moved your questions to a further end. But if you can still drop that will be.
Can we? I said can we?
Can we? Okay.
Okay. Sorry, we've gone beyond.
Can we ask questions? Okay, your
okay.
your fave boy. Sorry. So can we ask questions? You can type in your questions now.
So now this is time for questions. So just type in your questions and we're going to answer.
Yeah, so that we'll read it out for everyone to learn and then move on. Yeah. So while you are typing your questions, we'll just I'm sure now we've been able to surmount that mountain, because everybody from experience, they get scared when they hear GT.
After a get an offer.
Yes. And
you don't just go and pay.
Exactly.
You have to do the whole mighty GTE
assessment.
Like we call it.
Yeah, so I think
before you can proceed.
Yeah, so someone is saying, is it still feasible to get admission for March if we apply this week? So I would say the feasibility is today is slim. Today is December 5th. Oh, sorry, December 6th already. This week, December is not a full month. Schools will be going on holiday, and then putting into consideration the timeline for processing visa, we would rather recommend that you consider the July year 2023 intake. It's better to start early, actually. It's better to start early because right now schools are rounding off for February.
Some schools have even closed.
Some schools have already closed for some courses. They've closed applications for some courses for February, March 2023 intakes. So right now, and then reviewing of response time has really slowed down because they are tidying up on the application. So February, March intake is not feasible as we speak.
So we have another question. How many months bank statement is needed? So you need to provide a 3 months bank statement, recent 3 months bank statement. So I think it's only in few occasions that some schools maybe if they feel that they feel there's something dodgy about the account, that they can go to an extent that provide a 6 month statement. They want to see a 6 month statement. And also for the embassy, then that could be the issues could be maybe lump sum. Maybe you have a lump sum was paid into the account. For example, let's say about 2 million, 5 million, thereabouts was paid into the account. So if you have lump sum in your account, you just need to provide a statement showing that explaining why you have that lump sum. What is it for? Are you paying for something, or did you get payment for sales of property or anything? Then you provide verifiable documents or evidence, receipts to back that up. Then also I wanted to mention about the SOP. Yes, I wanted to say something about it, that for everything that you state in your SOP, I've seen people state that they won an award before. Please, you have to provide verifiable documents. So I've seen someone state I won an award. She sent a picture of the award. It was uploaded with the document. So because for everything that you are saying that you have, for every document that you are saying you have a landed document, you need to provide documents, documentary evidence to show that I have a landed property.
And it has to be in your name.
Yes.
In your name of that of your sponsors.
Or there should be a deed of contract or deed of assignment showing that maybe it was transferred from someone to you.
Alright, so someone is asking, I want to ask how easily to get admission in Canada with your decision. Actually, this session is very focused for Australia. However, we have Canadian counselors that can support you with your student journey to Canada. So you can go online, put in your entries, and then you'll be assigned to a Canadian counselor. Now, someone say, I have all these requirements, but IELTS, I have been trying for years now. So I think your question is actually leading 2 ways to it. Now, there are very few schools that exempt Nigeria from providing IELTS. That's one. But secondly, it will tie to the kind of course you intend to go study, and then the school you intend to go study. So it's not just you have all the requirements for IELTS. Like Falake rightly mentioned, health courses, health related courses, psychology and education, they are compulsory. Social work, it's a compulsory requirement. You have to provide IELTS. So it depends on the course, and then your grade as well. Sometimes some look at the grade you graduated with and request that you have to provide your IELTS results. So it all depends. You can still reach out to us. You can put in an entry or reach out to us for personalized counseling session. Another person said, do you have school in Canada and UK that does require IELTS? So like I said earlier,
it does require, or maybe the person wants to say it doesn't require.
Okay, so I'm sure perhaps maybe you want to retype your question. Are you saying does require or does not require? So if it does not require, for some schools in Canada, IELTS is a major requirement, and for UK, maybe they ask you to write UK VI. So like I said, this program is strictly for Australia. You can fill in your entries for those destinations, and then you'll be assigned to a counselor that covers the destination for a personalized counseling section.
Yes, you can just idp.com.
Yes,
you can visit our website. Then you can also download our mobile app,
IDP Live app.
Just
very important.
Play Store or Apple Store.
Come to think of it, makes life easy for you.
Very, very
So
easy.
you can go there, you shortlist schools, and whatever it is to support you with your student journey. So someone is saying, if I'm married and live in my own house, but the document is in my husband's name, can it be part of ties to my country? So if you're married, you're going to be providing your marriage certificate, obviously coupled with the documents of for the house. So your marriage certificate carries your husband's name. You'll be providing obviously your husband's documents as well. So if that is the case, they'll be able to see the relationship and the ties since you're married. Another question is, can I apply for March admission this week? And if the visa isn't ready before then, can I defer my admission to July? And you can actually do that, but it will also take some time because you have to revert to the school to kind of update your offer letter and then your certificate of enrollment as well, because you can't use the same offer letter and certificate of enrollment. There has to be change of dates and perhaps sometimes tuition. So every year Australian institutions review their tuition fee. So when such a situation happens, they'll have to review that. Perhaps you also have to pay some difference. Yes, a little extra when the tuition has been reviewed. Somebody is saying, when is July admission starting or closing? It has started already, so we recommend you put in, you can share with us, put in an entry on our website and then share with us.
The earlier
the better, considering your visa timeline. So it's better you get put in your visa application and let it be on them that you are waiting for your visa application. And someone is saying, how do I book for a session as I need more info on this? Please go to our website, idp.com. You can register for your entry, and then you will be called upon by a team member from a contact center, and they will book or schedule a time for you to have a personalized counseling session with a counselor. So keep the questions coming. Yes, we are here for your questions. And I also want to state, I know I've mentioned this as well, I just want to reiterate. Some of us will say, family accompanying me, I want my family to go with me, I want to apply at the same time. I can't leave my, we understand, our families are so precious to us, they are important, but for this purpose we would emphasize and recommend that you, as the principal applicant, make your application, get your visa first, and then we can assist you with making visa application for your family. Because right now, when you are saying you want your family to accompany you right now, it is being viewed as family migration. So it defeats your main intention of going to go study in Australia. And like I earlier mentioned, it's one of the risk indicators. Obviously, you wouldn't want to put your application in risk. Yes. Can registration start irrespective of not having a complete 3 months bank statement or required funds? So let me just advise you on this. GTE assessment is the second stage, and this second stage is like, let me say, 3 weeks to 4 weeks after your initial application. So if you don't have your funds ready, you can answer that question yourself. If you don't have your funds ready as at the point of putting in an application, it defeats the whole essence. You
just keep your application
it keeps your application hanging.
Forever.
Yeah, because for the second stage, which likely is going to be 3 to 4 weeks after your application have put in, they require you to put in 3 recent months bank applications. So you do the mathematics yourself. If you don't have a 3 recent month bank statement prior to putting in the application, it defeats the whole essence. So another person is saying, in this process, you guys are the ones to help find school for admissions, right? Yeah, so we have a database that synchronizes with the different institutions. When you give us your profile and we look at it, we can shortlist schools for you. At the same time, please go ahead to download IDP Live app on Google Play Store, and you'll be able to see schools and courses that align with or your choice or preference, and then you shortlist those schools. So someone is saying, I joined the program late. I was told that there's an age limit to apply for school in Australia. You're 7 years now. Please, can I apply with this age? So we can review this on a case-by-case basis. So it's not just the age alone that is put into consideration. We have to look at your academic gap. We have to look at the course you intend to go study. We look at, your work experience, the grade you graduated with. These other factors.
You just need to see your profile.
Yes, holistically, since you are 37. So this is something we have to look at. Now, someone is saying, can admission start while I await my IELTS result? Yes, admission process can commence, but you have to give us like a date that you'll be getting, writing and getting your IELTS. So you can, you have to start preparing. So it defeats the whole point, perhaps. You want us to put in an application now, and you're writing your IELTS in about 3 or 4 months' time to come. That does not add up. Now, someone is saying, also, do you charge for all this process, and how much do you charge? At this point, that's why we are proud. We are proud to work with IDP.
Yes.
IDP as let's brag a bit about the organization.
Yes, we are big.
We are big. So we do not charge for our services. Our services
absolutely
are free. So we're in partnership with these universities, and we get our remuneration from them. So I know now we have mentioned that we do not charge. Please note, you will be expected to pay for your tuition deposits. So IDP is not a charitable organization. So just to note, you'll be expected to pay for your tuition deposits. There are few schools in Australia that you have to pay the application fee. So if you end up choosing that school, you will have to pay for the application fee. And then when hopefully we get to the point of your visa application, you also will be the one to pay for your visa application fee.
Yes.
So I needed to clarify that.
So that you don't think IDP is covering all
everything you pay for.
We won't just charge you for the process, we won't charge you for processing fee, but every other fees pertaining to your studies, you need to pay it, your tuition, your visa fees, for your medicals and life. Then also for application, let me just brag, for application fee, though we have a few number of universities that require application fee, but there are, for some of them with IDP, it will be waived because it is IDP.
You know what, this number 2 bragging. So there are some schools who've got the waiver, so we we are making application through IDP.
It will be waived.
But there are very few handful of schools that you will still have to pay for your application fee if you end up choosing that school. The clock is ticking down. We have 9 more minutes to go. It's really been engaging, interesting.
Yes.
So let's see who are the few that want to put in some questions, so that we'll be able to attend to that before the time runs out. But in all, it has been quite engaging. Once again, we appreciate everyone that joined. In fact, I was thrilled that this thing of Nigerian time is beginning to fade off.
Yes.
So we had quite
a good
number of before 4 that joined. That was really encouraging. And for those that joined at 4 as well, and for those that still joined after 4, we appreciate you, because everybody in Lagos is busy.
Yes,
and then now it's getting close to Christmas time. You have to hustle, the festive season going up and down. Before scarcity is also part of it. But in all, we appreciate everyone. And someone is saying, I'm an HND holder. I guess perhaps you want to find out if you are eligible to go study in Australia, get an admission. So yes, I would say yes, but BS has some conditions. Now, a quite number of schools in Australia do not have consideration for HND holders. The very few that have considerations for HND holders, they'll have to look at what you graduated with, requirements. So what you graduated with, a lot will encourage upper credits. Now, if you have that, you cannot possibly progress directly for a master's program. Same, here in Nigeria, if you're an HND holder, you have to do a PGD. But in Australia, it's called pre-master's program. So depending on the school, we would recommend some few schools, and they may prescribe that you should do a graduate diploma program, which is about 8 to 10 months. Upon completion of that, you can then proceed to your master's degree. But the good thing we have observed over time is you'll be proceeding to the second year of your master's program, obviously depending on your performance as well. So that is usually the situation generally, but there could be some few exceptions, of course.
And a few of them have what we call postgraduate qualifying program, or master's qualifying program that you can do for about 6 months, then apply for a master's afterwards. It will be packaged together anyway. It's going to be a packaged program.
Yes. So package program means you have to apply for both. You cannot apply for your pre-master's qualifying program alone, because for Australia they wouldn't issue a visa to cover for only a pre-master's qualifying program. It has to be your pre-master's qualifying program and your master's program. And someone is saying,
you're asking this question again. Maybe it was not clear.
Okay, can application start irrespective of not having the complete proof of funds for the months required? So the whole essence nullifies the intent. So basically, like I said, and I would like to reiterate, GTE assessment is a second level of the admission process. So think about it this way. When we put in your application, after 3 to 4 weeks, the school issues a conditional offer. Now, conditional offer as it is means you have to meet up with your GTE requirements, because that's the second stage. That conditions listed is technically you meeting up with your GTE assessment. Now, part of the document that will be requested for is your 3 recent months bank statement. So think about it. Say you put in an application in December. By ending of December 1st, for instance, by towards the 3rd week of December, you are being asked to provide your bank statement, 3 recent months bank statement. So if you don't have your complete funds in it, obviously you have nullified the purpose, dragging the whole process
unnecessarily too long.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it is being seen as if you were not properly counseled, or there's a miscommunication gap somewhere. So we usually recommend, please get all your documents complete, including your bank statement. It actually speeds up the application process, and you are able to progress faster. So one is saying, can someone do top up instead of pre-masters, which is not a qualification? Perhaps we really don't understand what
Australia generally, they do have top-up programs. I know there are a few countries that have top-up programs, but it's not applicable for Australia. If you're applying for a graduate certificate program or a pre-master's or master's qualifying program, it has to be packaged with your master's degree, so that as soon as you complete that and you passed, you progress to your master's degree.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. PT for me, thank you very much.
Thank you very
we
much.
Appreciate. DYD is asking when will admission July admission close, so I can prepare. We would rather say for you to ask when will July admission commence. It's better to start early, not when it's closing. When you're thinking about closing at in December, so I'm wondering, you're looking at when a process will close. However, now the closing for admissions varies. So there's usually number of slots allocated for international students. So generally by March, schools will have rounded up, and sometimes it can even be earlier depending on how quickly the slots allocated for international students gets filled. Remember, you're not just putting in an application from Nigeria. Africa is quite big. They're getting volumes from Kenya, they're getting volumes from Ghana, they're getting volumes even from South Africa. So we would rather encourage you to commence the July application now, like the adverts always say. Remember, they say start your application now. Delay can be dangerous because we've seen that the volumes are actually increasing as Australia as a destination.
Well, let me add to DYD because I think he's the one asking about funds.
Okay.
So I think you should get also your funds sorted out too before you commence the progress, or once you see that everything is almost available, it's looking like everything is perfect, you can kickstart the process.
Yes, and again I want to reiterate, your minimum proof of fund expected is 62,000 Australian dollars. Please note, an estimated equivalent is within 18 million naira to 20 million naira. And then now, for emphasis sake, I will state, even after paying your tuition deposits, it does not mean your proof of fund would reduce. Yes, it shouldn't be lesser. Your proof of fund is expected for you to have that amount as your proof of fund up until your visa is issued.
You should remain. You should maintain.
Yes.
Because the embassy can come back anytime.
Exactly. They do their background checks. Trust
and
me.
ask you for an updated bank statement.
Exactly.
So if the account has been emptied, what will you present at that time? So it will just show to them that maybe you just got the money from somewhere and dumped it in the account and decided to remove it.
And we don't want that. We don't want that. We wouldn't want you to have an Australian visa refusal. It's not a good thing for your immigration profile, because the thing is, the way Australia is so conservative, if Australia happens to give one a visa refusal, all other countries is a red flag for you making an application to other countries, because they know the process is very thorough. So 1 minute more and we are counting down in seconds. Firstly, we want to appreciate everyone.
Thank you so much
for joining. We really appreciate you. Like we said, you can download IDP Live app to shortlist your courses. You can download IDP Live IELTS for your IELTS inquiries, and then you can put in your entries on our website if you want personalized counseling section. IDP.com, and then our services are free. Once again, thank you so much everyone, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas in advance. And a wonderful Happy New Year.
And a wonderful
Cheers everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.